What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Parents in Taipei are angry after a school children's choir was used in Chinese unification propaganda. Children from Taipei's Dunhua Elementary School performed in a music video in January. The video was not produced at the school. Some of the words of the song they performed can be interpreted as being pro-unification. A Chinese TV station showed the video in its Lunar New Year programming. City officials say there should be clearer rules for student performance outside of school. Taiwan's chip-making giant TSMC saw its revenue slip to a 17-month low in March. The company says it brought in close to $4.8 billion in March. That's down over 15% year-on-year and nearly 11% from February. Overall revenue for the first quarter of the year was also less than expected. The drop has been blamed on slow demand. The situation is expected to continue into the second quarter of the year. UMC, a smaller contract chip maker, also saw its Q1 revenue go down, though its March revenue was up on the month before. More workers are seeing decreases in their working hours across Taiwan. The Labor Ministry says that around 12,000 people are on furlough, taking 3 to 4 days of unpaid leave each month. The manufacturing industry was the most affected, largely due to a recent downturn in export orders. Taiwan's Economy Ministry says the situation is still manageable. But with a weak economy, some say it's unlikely to improve. A union federation says many employers can expect to have a hard time through to the end of the year. Taiwan's government says consumer prices were just over 2% higher in March than in the same month last year. That means inflation has dropped to its lowest in 4 months. And while shoppers have struggled with the cost of eggs and meat, by global standards, the price hikes here are not that high. Stash Butler takes a closer look at why Taiwan's inflation has stayed so low.
A strike in Greece, protests in Kenya, and a stampede in Pakistan. Soaring food and energy prices have made life hard for people across the world. Data shows global inflation rose to nearly 9% last year, the highest for a quarter of a century.
But here in Taiwan, prices have, for the most part, stayed low. Inflation has never broken 3.6%. The question is, why?
Well, global inflationary pressures really surged after the start of the Russia-Ukraine war in February 2022.
After Russia invaded Ukraine, global energy prices soared as the US and its allies sanctioned Russia's economy.
We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy.
But in Taiwan, the shock was barely felt. The country does import nearly all its fossil fuel, but it didn't buy much from Russia. It's also been developing clean energy. More crucially, Taiwan's government froze electricity prices. In essence, it paid for the price rises itself.
Gasoline prices are very low in Taiwan. Electricity is very cheap. So the government is putting up with the extra cost of high energy prices.
The rate of inflation also depends a lot on how it's calculated.
The relative weight that has been assigned to the different items inside the CPI baskets has played a role.
Economists decide on an inflation figure by looking at the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. That's one number that captures how prices have changed over a year for things like food, housing, and transport. Different governments give those things different weights, depending on how much they think people spend on them.
So some of the differences between Taiwan's headline inflation rate and the US's, for example, are down to what products and services they focused on. And Taiwan's lower inflation might be more of a question of stats than reality. But there's a third factor.
I think what's important is that the starting point for inflation in Taiwan before the Russia-Ukraine war began was very low.
Taiwan's inflation rate has been well below the world average for decades, and mostly below other advanced economies too. Booming manufacturing in Asia as a whole has kept prices here low. But Taiwan's low inflation could also be a sign of deeper problems with the economy.
I wouldn't say this is a success, to be frank. Now it looks good, but one has to understand that the reasons why inflation is not there might eventually not be such good reasons.
Taiwan has low wages for a rich country. The minimum salary here is $870 a month. So instead of spending their money and boosting the economy, people save.
It is hard to think of any inflationary pressure if people need to save what they earn in, like extra out of a good year.
Taiwan has dodged most of the world's steepest price rises by keeping a lid on energy costs. That saved consumers countless sums of money. But the same factors that keep inflation low, cheap electricity, low wages, an aging society, and weak demand, could spell trouble ahead. Damon Lin and Stash Butler in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Team Taiwan has bagged 24 gold medals at the World Sports Stacking Championships 2023 in Singapore. Our reporter Sandy Chi has the story.
In a flash, cups are stacked into 3 pyramids of different sizes. This is the World Sports Stacking Championships 2023. It was held in Singapore after a 3-year hiatus due to the pandemic. Team Taiwan excelled at the event, taking home 24 golds, as well as 28 silver and 20 bronze medals. The team of 30 competed with 370 stackers from 17 countries. 11-year-old Liu Cailing made her mark, finishing 3 individual competitions in under 10 seconds. She was named the tournament's fastest female contestant.
4金，然后感觉很开心。
平常一天要练习多久？
一天1-2个小时，觉得很好玩。
The event was also the first time for 6 Taiwanese contestants with special needs to perform on the international stage.
我们希望能够未来在各县市的地方政府能够受到重视，给予孩子能够更多的机会接触蝶杯，让我们在这项运动的选手的素质跟实力能够更加提升，也得到更多的帮助、更多的补助。
Team Taiwan is now back home and already preparing for the next year's championships, to be held in the U.S. state of Florida. Yvonne Pan and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
The National Theatre and Concert Hall is holding Taiwan Week, a festival of dance and theater that attracts audiences from all over the world. John Van Trieste looked at one of the pieces being performed, a work called Whale Island, where Taiwan's landscape takes center stage.
Twirling and swaying to the sounds of traditional Taiwanese music, dancers with elaborate props fill the stage. This is Whale Island, a spectacle that combines modern dance and abstract costumes with a soundtrack that has deep Taiwanese roots. The show is an allegory for the land of Taiwan, with features of its environment and landscapes depicted as characters on stage.
因为台湾岛是大陆那个板块，就是然后跟菲律宾的海洋板块挤压形成的一个岛屿，所以讲的是一个海陆的联合。
Two genres of Taiwanese music take center stage in the play: the quiet, string-based Nanguan and the percussion-heavy Beiguan. The choice to meld these two ethnic Chinese genres was deliberate.
尤其南管的音乐是它有点妩媚感，然后它可以传递很深情的婉约的情感。那南北管有它的比较粗犷的风格。
Both the director and the playwright aimed for the piece to exhibit the beauty and diversity of Taiwan's land and culture.
就台湾看起来好像很小，但是事实上它很丰富。然后当然，海洋的意义就是世界上没有一个真正的孤岛，因为海洋的连接可以非常非常的强。
And during Taiwan Week, it's this richness and the importance of the link between the land and the sea that the play is showcasing to people from around the world. Yvonne Pan and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today we leave you with images of koalas at Clayton Wildlife Park in the city of Adelaide in South Australia. I'm Yvonne Young. Take care and see you next time.